It's been a busy day. I'd like to thank Joe and Barbara Reich for this wonderful building that we have to use, and for Ann McDowell and for Chris Hohing for setting up these talks. So I'm going to keep it short. We're going to get right over to Keith here. He's got a lot of more stories to tell, and we will have questions and answer plenty of time after the show. So, welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello. Hello. Yeah, we better back off of that a little bit, huh? I am flattered and really happy to see so many of you here after that last go around.
We brought the tomatoes this time.
I just had one of those days where I stammered and stuttered. I'm getting old and I can't remember who I am half the time, but my memory's shot, so if I get in the middle of something here and just kind of go off in space for a minute, I'll be right back. We're going to talk about the Baldknobbers today, and we talked about them last time, so I probably will repeat some of the same things we went through last time. But I thought I'd just start from the beginning and kind of run by how they came about, first of all. So we'll jump right in it. And as soon as the Civil War was over in 1865, for about the next 20 years, until 84, 85, when it got so bad that they had to do something about it, because during that time, there was anywhere from 30 to 40 murders committed in Taney County. And if the truth be known, I would say there were way more than that. They got buried in the woods somewhere and was reported missing or whatever. Now, anything I say today is my opinion, and there's a lot of opinions when it comes to the Baldknobbers and that time era. But I grew up here, so did my dad and his dad and his dad and his dad. And the same thing with my mother and her family, the Meltons, and then the Keithleys, and then the Moores, and then the Thurmans. I go back 7 generations. So I've heard stories. Part of my family's background was anti-Baldknobber, and part of it was the Citizens Committee. I think I just told you the same thing. Anyway, so a lot of the stuff that I heard as I was growing up was different opinions like you still hear now. So many people thought the Baldknobbers were great, that they had come and saved the county and was getting rid of the riffraff. A lot of the people hated them, thought they were evil, and I think the way that came about is they were both right. When this, well, let me back up a little. What happened was Al Layton shot and killed Jim Everett. And we won't go into a big bunch of names and details. We're just talking about the Baldknobbers, not any one individual. But that got the whole thing started because they had a trial, and most of the jury, I think, was supposed to have been his relatives, and they was all drinking and hooting. It's more of a party than it was a trial. And he got off. And there was 2 or 3 witnesses that just saw the whole thing. And so they were extremely outraged. So Nat Kinney was a great, if he was as big as they say he is, he was a huge man for that time. Because they said he was 6'6" and weighed about 300 pounds. Well, that makes me sweat. That's a huge man, and I've seen pictures of him. As a matter of fact, we've got some pictures back there. If you want to look through them as you go out, there are not many, 2 or 3, that's actual Baldknobbers. Anyway, Nat Kinney decided that it would be good if they put together a local group to help the sheriff enforce the law. So he called up 13, or actually be 12, I guess, of the most reliable, upstanding citizens in Taney County. And they met in the back of Jim Everett's store over in Forsyth. It was Jim Everett. Yale Everett was his little brother, and he was raring to get something going. So in the meeting, they decided that they would form a league and call it the League of Law and Order. And it's been called 2 or 3 different things. Anyway, they decided they would put together a group and help the sheriff when he needed it. That was the intent in the beginning. Of course, that didn't last. As soon as other men started entering the league, I guess probably, I'm just guessing, but I'd say there's probably 200 or 300 of them just right off the bat. And they divided up into sectors. In other words, you had the north, east Baldknobbers, you had the southeast Baldknobbers, and so forth. And they had regiments scattered around because they couldn't all hardly get together. The way you had to travel then was on horseback, and they had all their meetings at night. So this group would get together because they couldn't ride 50 miles across Taney County to get over here. So I think what happened was you had a group of these men that was in it for the real McCoy. And then maybe this other group let power get next to them, and it pretty well ruined them. And what they would do is they would get together and leave a bundle of hickory switches on your front porch if they wanted you gone. And however many switches they left was how many days you had to pack up and get out. And if you didn't, they'd probably beat you to death. A bunch of people in the very beginning didn't buy it, and they wound up dead. But like I said, this bunch was good, this bunch was bad, and this bunch who knew, and this bunch who knew, and that's why you get all these different tales about the Baldknobbers. I had members of my ancestry on both sides, so I heard the good side and the bad side. But I tell you what, something that'll help. Forgive me, I'm an old fat guy and I'm sweating like a horse. I've got 3 letters that they are Xerox copies of actual letters written at that time. I mean, this one's the letterhead of this one is clerk of the county and circuit court, something or other that I can't read, of Taney County. And I couldn't read their writing, so I wrote these down. I want to read to you just a little bit about what folks thought of the Baldknobbers at that time. Oh Lord, I've lost one sheet, I think. No, there it is. Excuse me. This first one was dated March the 11th, 1886. And it says, "To His Excellency, John S. Marmaduke, Governor of the State of Missouri. Dear Sir, the Baldknobbers was in town today, 154 strong. I have a long list of their names. They have sent 2 of their members to see you. They are acknowledged leaders of the Baldknobbers. I am enrolling," and some of this stuff is the way that they wrote it then. "I am enrolling a company of state guard that will be full tomorrow. 80 men will have mustered roll, bound, and all necessary papers sent at once and together. Send someone to investigate at the earliest possible moment. For the sake of law and order, send us the help that we've asked for. Excuse us for troubling you so often, for we know the emergency of the case demands it now. Thank you, Governor, for your kindness and your favor. I remain yours, J.J." Is that Kenny North? How do you pronounce that? Kennole. Anyway, I don't know who it was and what it, but I thought, does anybody recognize that last name? No? Okay. Well, I was curious about that myself. Now this was March the 11th, 1886. Here's one March 27th, just 15 or so days later, 1886. "To His Excellency, John S. Marmaduke, Governor of Missouri. My dear sir, I will inform you that I fought you during the war. And when that ended, as a federal soldier, I protected you and your property. And as a citizen of Taney County in the state of Missouri, I voted for you as governor. Boy,
Laying it on.
he's laying her on. I voted for you as governor of the state of Missouri, believing that you would discharge the duties of the chief executive with credit to yourself and to the satisfaction of all law-abiding men in the state. And now I respectfully ask you to extend me the protection that is due a law-loving, law-abiding citizen of Taney County, Missouri. By such action as to you may seem just and proper to suppress this lawless black midnight organization called the Baldknobbers. People that arm themselves and go forth at the dead hour of night and is leaving people to do what they please, discharging firearms and making night hideous with the noise and confusion. I tell you frankly, what I was, who I am today, and I was and am all of this from pure motive of right. I don't know what that said either. Can I have protection? Will you give it, hoping and believing that you will? I am, with much respect, W.H. Lansford. Now, this seems to be going downhill fast. On May the 10th, I got another one. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what that is. Maybe I'm nervous. Why would I be nervous? You guys don't care. All right. May the 10th, 1886. Mr. Jameson, which was the Addison General, James Jameson. Another terrible tragedy occurred here on the yesterday evening. The horrible Baldknobbers has killed Mr. Sam Snap by one Washington Middleton. Surely this is enough for the Baldknobbers to all be taken from the county. The affair occurred at Kirbyville, and good men say it was cold-blooded murder. Sorry indeed, Mr. Snaps had 5 small children and a wife. The poor children are orphaned now because of an assassin Baldknobber, and Wash Middleton is still at large and safe and away from all of the law, as he is one of Captain Kenny's men. Excuse the rough riding and haste. Anyway, that's what I'm saying with that. I'm going to have to this is scary. I'm going to have to take that hat off. It's killing me. I used to have a lot of hair, and so I try to keep that hat on so nobody knows it's not there anymore. I'm not nearly as handsome as I used to be with hair. I hope you know I'm joking. Okay, back to the point at hand. After this whole thing happened with the Baldknobbers, that last go-around with the Green Eden killings, that one happened in Christian County, and supposedly the Baldknobbers had already disbanded by the time that happened. That was the Christian County Baldknobbers, is what they call themselves. The Taney County Baldknobbers, once they got started and it was showing up productive in the beginning, there's no telling how many men was involved in that on one side or the other. And if the shooting would start, it would have been another civil war in this area, because there was several hundred men, my understanding, there were several hundred men that was anti-Baldknobber, and they had a company of their own, and they and the Baldknobbers butted heads on a regular basis. And it got so bad, these guys literally made headlines in New York and Los Angeles and as far away as London. I mean, they was a big deal. There's a lot of folks say that the Baldknobbers was about the next one down from the Ku Klux Klan. Of course, that wasn't what they were. They supposedly was going to helped the sheriff with the law and order. That happened up until the point that the greed and the power set in, and then they just kind of forgot the sheriff. They done their own thing, and if he said anything to them, why, it could have meant him being gone.
It did.
Yeah. Well, that was Galba. I'm going to that in a minute. When Galba Branson, Reuben Branson's brother, Reuben Branson was the postmaster that got the town named after him. That's another big long story. But Galba Branson and Billy Miles was the one that you're thinking about. We'll get to that in just a minute. Where was it? After the Addison General came down, Adjutant General came down and met with them, he told Kenny and his bunch that they were going to disband, one way or the other, whether they liked it or not. And so he fought it, but on paper they disbanded. Said when the two parties wound up in Forsyth to sign the papers, I've heard all the way from 900 to 1,000 to 12 or 1,500 men showed up at Forsyth claiming to be Baldknobbers to witness this. After the Tenney County Baldknobbers dissolved, then the Christian County Baldknobbers, they hung in there for a long time, and the Christian County Baldknobbers are the ones that butchered the Eden and Green family. And that was in Ozark, just in 1889. And it was, they caught them boys. Matthews, what was it?
The Matthews and Walkers.
Matthews and Walker, what was Wiley's brother's name? I can't remember.
So it was Wiley's uncle, is John Matthews and Wiley Matthews.
Yeah.
And then the Bull Creek Dave Walker and
his kid.
And his son Billy Walker.
Billy Walker, that's what I have worse trouble remembering names anymore. Did any of you relate to that? I'll tell you what, mine's getting bad. I like literally in the middle of a conversation can't remember who I am. But I've been that way most all my life. Once they done their dirty deed, the sheriff of Christian County, his name was Johnson. They caught all of them, and one or two of them fessed up on who all was involved in it, and they had a trial. They convicted them, and they hung them on May the 10th in 1889 on the front lawn of the courthouse in Ozark. And I have another thing here that I'd like to read to you. I don't poke my eye out. This is, I had, Joe Reese is responsible for this, and I really appreciate him bringing it. It's a great long newspaper article about the botched hanging of the Baldknobbers. And it was written, this old man interviewed, I guess, in 1973, and he was 92 when he gave this interview. And he was around, he was born, I think it said, in 1883. So he was 6 or 7 years old when they hung him. And he lived right there in Ozark, just across the street from it. And he said, in some of the beginning of this, he said that even though he was just 6, he remembered all of the people gathering, and some fighting, and some cheering, and all different reactions to this. And this is part of that full page. Excuse me just a minute. Gotta wet my whistle. And like I said, that's.
What is it?
Well, it's crystal light. Did you not hear that tale I told a while ago? My granddaughter asked me, Papa, is that PP right? because of the color, and I like to bust the gut. So I have started explaining to people, that's crystal light, I swear to God. All right. Here is, this is what Mr. Rogers wrote in the neighborhood. He said, when I learned the railroad only wanted the line to take out the railroad ties being cut in the hills, it brought in a lot of Irishmen and Swedes as the hackers, and they contributed to the liveliness of Ozark on Saturday night. They hacked the ties out of the woods for the pittance price per tie, and the railroad shipped the ties all over the country. Stories were common that the ties buyers didn't always treat the hackers right. They'd reject some of the ties for one reason or another, and because the ties were so heavy to handle, the hackers didn't take them back in the woods. The hackers left them lay there. Then after the hackers had some of them packed up and ready for shipment with the others, as they left, these old boys would go back in and load them up and put them with the rest of them and send them out. The times were restless. Times were restless ones in the hills, and outlanders are considered a threat to the natives. The zealous hillsmen, seeking to protect their lives and property, had organized vigilante groups. The strongest, the best known, and the most feared was the Baldknobbers. One band of this organization was held responsible for a raid that left 2 persons dead and 3 injured. Rogers was only 6 years old at the time of the hanging and grisly execution by hanging of 3 of the 4 Baldknobbers convicted of the Greene Eaton murders. Young as he was, the boy could not avoid being caught up in the drama of the trial and execution. These latter events took place almost in the front yard of Mr. Rogers' home, so near was it to the courthouse and jail that the boy could see everything. Once when the townspeople had become panicky over the rumor that the band of Baldknobbers from along the Christian-Taney County line were coming into Ozark to release the prisoners, and local vigilantes grew hastily and formed to protect the town. I can't read. I went to school at Forsyth. You know what I mean? Rogers reminded recently, this old paper, a loaded Winchester rifle was always kept at the bank, and Father took it when he went out on patrol with other townspeople to watch the road from the south. Fortunately, the rumors proved false, and the tension subsided until another crisis arose. Naturally, as I grew up, I heard many accounts of the event, and my adolescent impression looked more concerned forms. But this I know, I lived through a dramatic period in a small part of the pioneer Ozarks. It was an exciting period in the history of the town of Ozark in the Ozarks. And the only reason I went through all that was, one, to kill time, and the other one is that that's what I was telling you. All the Baldknobbers had to do at that time was just say boo, and you got out and got out of the way. And this was way after they had signed the papers to get away from the situation. Now, I could go on forever and ever and ever, and probably if I was talking about something I knew more about, it wouldn't be so boring. I worked at Shepherd of the Hills for a long time, and the book Shepherd of the Hills had the Baldknobbers, big part of the Baldknobbers. And that's where a lot of people really get mixed up and messed up. That book was published in 1907, and it was an immediate bestseller, and there's no telling how many million people have read that novel down through the years. Not that they bought one. Books were so expensive and hard to come by in those days that what they would do is one would buy a book and then pass it around to all the rest. But they estimated several million people at that time. They took Nat Kinney, Mr. Wright took Nat Kinney and Wash Middleton, and there was another one or two, Gibbs Mabe, and I think there was a Charlie Gibbs. He combined those names and Kinney's size and created Wash Gibbs. The Baldknobbers in the book was bank robbers and bad outlaws. Well, the Baldknobbers in real life, I don't think they robbed a bank. I never heard of it if they did, but they were real bad guys. What they'd do is they'd run these people out of their property, and they'd make up an excuse of this old boy's drinking too much, or he's running around with somebody else's wife, or he's wasting money in cards and whatnot. And they would pack him up and send him out of here, or beat him to death, or shoot him, or whatever. Well, what I started to say a while ago was, I'll go back a ways. Nat Kinney was the leader of the Baldknobbers, the real Baldknobbers. And he, what I have read is several different tales, but he was in a store in Forsyth. This was long after all the breaking the group up and so forth. But he was in a store in Forsyth doing inventory for something, and Billy Miles, and I believe his brother?
Jim Miles, Billy and Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Billy and one of the other boys went in, and supposedly they taunted Kenny a little bit. He got very angry when they first come in the door, but he didn't have his guns on. So they gave him all kinds of problems, and some will say that Billy Matthews hollered at him and then drew and shot him with self-defense, or it wasn't self-defense, he just murdered him. And they had actually played a card game to see which one of them was gonna kill him. And I think they all wanted to, but the way the card game went was whoever had the worst hand, and it was Billy Miles. Anyway, after Kenny died, after they shot him, I would say that things in Taney County kind of died off and was over with, but that's not true either. I got stories from grandpas, great-grandpas, and uncles that went on clear up to the early 20th century, that they were still pulling shenanigans under the guise of a different name, and they were still breaking the law. Nobody probably even knows when that actually completely ended. And the truth of the matter is, I'm not sure that it has. When I was a little younger, like 50 years ago or so, there was a store in Pro Tem. Some of you may remember this, and it may have been a little longer ago than that, but there was a store, an old-time country store down in Pro Tem, and there was a pot-bellied stove in there. And them old boys sat around that pot-bellied stove, especially in winter, and blow smoke to each other and so forth. And the story used to be in Forsyth, if you want to get a good fist fight going, go down there on a cold day when there's about 6 or 7 of them sitting in there around that fire and say something bad about the Baldknobbers. And you'll probably get the crap beat out of you before you get to the front door. I mean, and this was 50, 60 years ago. And it's lost a lot of its clout. But the truth of the matter is, that reminds me, I was going to tell y'all something. We did a movie, I say we, I had nothing to do with it, but they did a movie, I think about 2012, 2013 is the copyright on it. It is on a DVD, and it was made here in Taney County with local people, with local actors and actresses. And I'm going to be straight with you. Don't watch the movie thinking of some big elaborate production. It cost way less than $100 grand to make this movie, and if you would have made the same movie in Hollywood with the people that you probably would have used, it would have been millions. So the fellow who did this, and Curtis was a big part of it, he done his best, they done their best to stay right with the exact story. Now, it may be a little boring once in a while, but that's all right. It's local people. And I guarantee you, if you ever watch it, you'll recognize several people that's in it. The story is, it's a historical piece. It would have made a great piece to have been on the History Channel, or any of them, Discover, whatever. But if they sell them, I think y'all's got some left here, but if you get a chance, I'm not promoting the sale of a DVD, but if you want to know the actual story of the Baldknobbers, it's got a lot of flowering, whatever, this and that and so forth, just to make it a movie. But if you want to know how this whole thing went down, names, numbers, and the whole smear, buy you a copy of that and watch it.
What's the name?
The Baldknobbers. Watch it. And again, I say, it's local folks. I don't think any of us got paid because we just wanted to do it. We just wanted to get that story of the Baldknobbers out. And it was Mike Johnson that did it, and Curtis, and a couple of other fellas. And it's good. It's not a big deal movie. It's a B-grade movie, but it's good. And you can actually get it on I don't think Netflix, but
Tubi's.
if you'll go to search on your what the hell ever that's called. That's what I mean. I hit one of them spots. I can't remember who I am. Anyway, it's on television, and I believe, I can't remember which one. It's not Netflix, and I don't think it's Prime.
It's on Tubi.
YouTube?
Tubi?
Tubi.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
on Tubi.
Yeah.
But it will tell you the story of the Baldknobbers. And there's some characters in it, him being one, that's just really outstanding performances. That's good. And it's just a little too long. When Mike did that movie, he's got a good heart, and he wanted some of the folks that worked so hard that probably normally wouldn't have been in the movie was in it. And you got to get a picture of them, and so therefore there's a lot of pictures in there that maybe would have been okay if they hadn't been in there. Anyway, I better say no more about that, because I'm not knocking the movie, and I'm not bad talking it. I'm saying it's not to be a Academy winning movie. It's a good history piece. So if you get a chance, do watch it. I watched it for the first time since it came out last night, just to kind of get an idea of what I was talking about today, and it didn't work. But anyway, I'm going to let you all out of here. I truly appreciate you coming in here listening to me ramble on like this. Now, if we'd been talking about the Shepherd of the Hills, I could have kept you entertained for at least an hour and a half. But when you get off into places like the Baldknobbers, there's so many stories, and I've heard so many stories, and there's been so much going on about the Baldknobbers that I kind of tuned it out years ago, and I don't remember a lot of the stuff that probably would be important to know, and that's why I'm telling you about the movie, is you can get all the stuff that I just told you, only a lot better. Again, I thank you very much. I appreciate it. You've seen me without my hat now, so you got to swear an oath. Man, if I turn around, I don't have any back there. Ever since I got that gum COVID, my hair started falling out. Anyway, yes, sir.
Don't forget to tell them about the books, Baldknobber books. Some of them may not know. I get a lot of information on the Baldknobber books.
Well,
Especially
sure.
the latest one by Vonda Sheets, Absolution. Is that-
Well, now Absolution is not necessarily a ball number book. The ball number books, if you want to read about the ball numbers, Almo Anthorn and Mary Hart wrote the best that I've found. There's another one, I can't think of the fellow's name. It hasn't been out for a long time, but it's the same thing. It's called Ball Number, and it's real good. It's a good book. Rhonda, God bless her soul, left us, but before she did, she wrote Gone with the Wind. And it's well done, and I think it follows the story really well. I can't read worth a hoot. I told you that a while ago. And so it took me forever to read it. By the time we got to the end, I forgot how it started. So I'm trying to read it again right now. And it actually is a very good book. Rhonda she was quite a historian. I think her and Rick Swan and one or two of them was involved in maybe doing that book.
Well, they had
But-
to play, she had to play over Forsyth too at one time.
Yeah. I knew Rick got together a little short skit story down in the park in Shadow Rock, but I don't think they're doing that anymore. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to go. Matter of fact, I didn't even know about it until it was over. Anyway, I'm going to let y'all out of here. I appreciate you. Thank you kindly. I hope you at least got some little something out of this. And maybe in a year or so, if I'm still kicking, we'll do it again.